Breaking news, President Manchin strikes again. Joe Manchin announcing that he will vote no on the Democratic bill to codify Roe v. Wade into law. Let's take a listen to President Manchin.
I think we all know why we're here today, and I want to explain my position. Abortion to each one of us is very near and dear to us. It's personal. It shouldn't be political. And today what we're going to have is a piece of legislation in front of us. It is not what I was hoping for and what I expected. I was hopeful, and I was a little bit, I was waiting. You kept asking me questions, when are you going to make a decision? I've made a decision. I know where I've always stood. I was hopeful that the Democratic Party, having control of the agenda, would put a piece of legislation forward that would codify Roe v. Wade. 70% of the American public wants Roe v. Wade to be codified, as has been precedented law for 50 years. To me, that would be the reasonable, rational thing to do. The bill we have today to vote on, the Women's Health Protection Act, and I respect people who support, but don't make no mistake, it is not Roe v. Wade codification. It's an expansion. It wipes 500 state laws off the books. It expands abortion. And with that, that's not where we are today. We should not be dividing this country further than we're already divided. And it's really the politics of Congress that's dividing the country. It's not the people. They're telling us what they want. And it's just disappointing that we're going to be voting on a piece of legislation which I will not vote for today.
So President Manchin is saying he would vote it if it was simply codifying the existing constitutional protection for women. But he says the Democratic bill is a wide expansion, which it's really not. It expands a few things, but it is basically just upholding what's already law of the land. But you want to know something? To me, this is much bigger than Roe v. Wade, which is obviously extremely vital and important. And it's disgraceful what's going on to try and take away the right for women to choose their own reproductive health matters. But this goes all the way back to this current president, Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, and frankly, progressives, allowing this man to have unfettered power, never-ending power and authority on not just Roe v. Wade, but every matter in this country. And that is right at the doorstep of the spineless, corrupt Democratic Party and President Biden, because President Biden ran saying he could bridge the divide. He's been in Washington for 40 years. He knows how to work with Republicans as well as the divisions of the Democratic Party, and he could find consensus. That was clearly bullshit. It's always nonsense when the media pushes people like Joe Biden as, you know, the uniters, and we need to bridge the partisan divide. Joe Biden was always living in the 1980s and was never going to bring Republicans along, or Republicans like Joe Manchin. But the truth is, Joe Manchin, Biden, and the Democratic Party, they should have been using the bully pulpit a year ago. Biden in particular against Joe Manchin, shaming him on blocking Build Back Better, shaming him on literally being a coal baron while simultaneously running the Senate Energy Committee, which is a gaping conflict of interest. You cannot own a coal company and make millions of dollars off this coal company and be the chairman of the committee that sets regulation for coal, among other things. Frankly, Biden could have privately been using his bully pulpit to say to Joe Manchin, hey, Joe, you know how your daughter got away with murder, basically, jacking up the price of insulin and EpiPens and price gouging? I might have my Department of Justice look into that. Never did it. You could have had Joe Biden calling out Joe Manchin in press conferences to the media the same way he now gingerly is calling out the Republican Party. You think Joe Manchin, yeah, he's corrupt. You don't think he's thin-skinned? Look at the freak out Joe Manchin had just at the fact that Bernie Sanders wrote an op-ed in a West Virginia newspaper calling him out and calling for him to vote for Build Back Better. You don't think if a year ago there was actual use of the presidential bully pulpit against this corrupt miscreant, it could have affected what he does in the future, including this? You don't think if there was major, not only Biden calling him out, but the Democratic Party super PACs running ads, even though he's not up for election in West Virginia? Do you know that Shoykat Shabardi and Corbin Trent, who were Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's chief of staff and communications director, they were very instrumental in getting her elected in the first place. Once AOC summarily dismissed them, the story is they left. They were forced out. Do you know they created a super PAC? And one of the first things they did was go on the air on radio in West Virginia, shaming Joe Manchin for being against $2,000 checks for pandemic relief. Joe Manchin instantly started walking that back, just with a super PAC ads on the radio in West Virginia calling him out. But Biden never, ever went against Joe Manchin. He instead took the let's have him to the White House and offer him green tea. And let's actually make him think that he has equal amount of power to the president of the United States. And let's try diplomacy with a right-wing radical, corrupt coal baron. No, they should have been doing all of the things I just described and put political pressure on him. Because you want to know something? People that are corrupt, they don't mind. They have no shame for being corrupt. But when you actually start calling the corruption out, when you actually use the bully pulpit of the president to actually put him on blast, would you maybe, dare I say, go to West Virginia and hold a rally pointing out this corruption and his donors? Boy, corrupt people don't like that. But why did Joe Biden never do that? Why would the Democratic Party never do that? Because they don't want to upset the donors, because Manchin's donors are the same donors that they need for Senate campaigns, congressional campaigns, governor campaigns. When I say need, meaning they think they need them. In my view, and Bernie has proved it, other candidates have proved it, if they actually ran on progressive, wildly popular policies and had a spine, they could raise money through the grassroots, through the people. Bernie showed he could do it, as well as others. But they don't want to do that. They want the status quo. So there's always been a friction between what clearly should have been done, Biden going after Manchin, calling him corrupt, pointing out his donors, threatening him with prosecution of his daughter, and what we see now, which is a man who almost enjoys obstructing any sign of progress, from climate, healthcare, benefits for seniors, and now essentially as a older white man, an old rich white man, basically threatening the lives of millions of women in this country and bringing us back to the good old days of the 1950s and 60s. This is horrible, horrible. And Joe Manchin doing this, don't think it's of some, he has to in West Virginia because it's a Republican state. He has to because, West Virginia is pro-life. No. He's doing this because he can, not because of some sincere religious belief or anything like this. He's doing this because Biden and the Democratic Party allowed it. By the way, same thing with Obama in 2009 and 2010. Obama had a near supermajority. Those Democrats like Joe Lieberman, Max Baucus, who were holding out on Obamacare and were basically making it so, even though Obama ran on single payer, he would not fight for it because these Democrats were obstructing. Obama could have used his wonderful oratory skills, his great ability to inspire and galvanize the troops. He showed it on the campaign trail, even though he was full of shit. He could have used that to put those senators on blast, those obstructionists on blast. Those folks he could have put on blast, holding rallies against it, this and that. The very things that Bernie Sanders said, if I were president, meaning if Bernie were president, the first thing I would do is not go meet with Mitch McConnell and compromise. First thing I would do is go meet with Mitch McConnell and say, hey, look outside the window at my army of supporters here. You don't do what we want, you're going to be out of office. But it's all theater in D.C. And Biden and the Democrats allowed Manchin and Sinema to run wild because they didn't want to upset the apple cart, which is their donors, because they share the same donors. And who are the victims now? Women. Because make no mistake, Joe Manchin is blocking this. You have 49 Democrats right now that would have voted to codify Roe v. Wade. And Joe Manchin is the only Democrat against this. So for those that say, well, Jordan, if you upset him or if Biden would have done the things you say, he would have just switched to the Republican Party and then the Democrats wouldn't have the majority anymore. So what? What are they even doing with the majority they have? Let him move to the Republican Party. It's just disgusting, absolutely disgusting that the weak and spineless and corrupt Democratic Party and Biden allowed this man to basically rule the country for the last 2 years. through his obstruction. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.